You arrived in Sun City yesterday, and I could see as I was watching some of the interviews that you were having that you're having a mighty good time. Have you managed to splash, get yourself nice and warm in the water?
We'll be getting there. Morning, Tommy. Morning, everyone. Wish you were here, Tommy. It's always lovely when we get a chance to come out to the Tourism Business Council SA Leadership Conference, not just because it's at the historical, the legendary Sun City, of course, but there's business to be done here as well. It's the business of tourism. Yes, there's the fun side. We get to be here at 6 o'clock in the morning at the Valley of Waves. There's no one else around us. We've got the palace behind us. It's basically deserted right now. Very different picture last night, though, Tommy, when Sally Burdett and I were here. We had a chance to hear from some of the higher ups as far as Tourism SA is concerned, hearing from their CEO. What are the plans? What are the concerns? And one of the issues that we were both raising is when we were here last year, it was post-COVID. So what the tourism sector, as far as last year was concerned, is they were trying to recover from COVID. But where are we now? Are we still in a recovery phase? Or as a tourism sector, is the country now in a regrowth, in a continued growth phase? That's what we have to try and find out. The COVID-19 pandemic, Tommy, devastating for the industry. Jobs lost, airlines closed down, the international sector basically coming to a standstill. But it does look like it is beginning to pick up again. I had a chance to speak to the general manager of Sun City, Brett Hoppy. He was joining us, giving us a sense not just about the recovery post-COVID, but also economically, where does tourism fit in the South African landscape? How important is it? We know it's very important, but how important? How do we try and take it back to the days before COVID? Now, let's also bring into the conversation, we'll have this later as well, is that of blackouts. Excuse me, we know stage 6 blackouts, how devastating those can be. If it's not stage 6, tell me, we know we're probably stage 3 or stage 1 or some variant. How does that affect tourism? Imagine not just being at Sun City, where they have got they've got solar panels, massive solar plants, huge generators to keep this going. But for the country as a whole, a much smaller tourism or hospitality venue, how do they cope when it comes to blackouts? What is the international perception of South Africa from a tourist perspective? If you have people coming from Europe, America, wherever it might be, does it stop them coming here, Tommy, because of the blackouts? Do you really want to go on holiday and sit in the dark? That's the reality of it. And I'm going to be hearing from the chairperson of TBCSA, Blackie Komani, in about 20 minutes from now. We're going to discuss that, also what the plans are for later today.
Well, Gareth, I must say it promises to be a really insightful time that you'll be having there at Sun City as we focus on tourism. We know it is quite a huge contributor, to our economy as well. But we'll continue touching base with you as the morning progresses. I know, as you said, in 20 minutes' time, you'll be bringing us another interview as we continue focusing on various aspects of the business of tourism, the economy of tourism, and I guess also the fun side. And Gareth, who else will you be talking to during your time there?
So I know that we are going to be having a little bit later in the day. We've got 2 ministers, very important ministers. Obviously, you would expect the Minister of Tourism to be here as well, Patricia de Lille. That's coming up a little bit later in the day. And then the Minister of Home Affairs is going to be Aaron Motsoaledi. Now, there's a couple of issues we've got to talk about there. From the tourism perspective, Tommy, it is these e-visas. There's 2 issues when it comes to these e-visas. The idea is to streamline visa entry into South Africa from a global perspective, but the e-visas are supposed to make it a lot easier for certain countries. And now, as you'll remember, we had BRICS just a couple of weeks ago. What does the visa status look like? What does the visa process look like for our partners in BRICS? What do our visas look like for our partners in Africa? If you think of Brazil, Russia, India, China, is it any easier to get into South Africa? We're talking tourism now. We're not talking business, etc., and those trying to open companies and start companies here. Just the tourism side. What does an e-visa actually mean? Where are we with that? What are the stumbling blocks? Or is it actually working? And if it is, how do we expand that? How do we grow that so we can make it easier for other countries to be able to get onto that e-visa system? I think a lot of people, Tommy, might not even know how it works. It's quite a complicated process. It shouldn't be, but the criticism is it actually is quite cumbersome. Why is that? Is it a systems issue? Is it a user issue? So I'm sure we're going to be getting details from the Home Affairs Minister later in the day, and also Tourism Minister Patricia de Lille are going to just give us a sense of really the macro side of tourism. What are the problems, and how does a conference like this make a difference?
Gareth, missing you already, but as we said, we will be touching base throughout the course of this morning.